No one else to tell, so I'm going to come on here and tell you guys, and I'm so excited. So, I already told you folks that I found the incorporation documents for my village on my Secretary of State's website, right? I used a website called opencorporates.com. I suggest you guys go click around. Start typing some things in, and whatever you find, it will link you to your Secretary of State and the documents contained through your Secretary of State. So I already told you folks that I found the incorporation documents for my village. Well, I also found the incorporation documents for my school district, for my police department, for my county's bar association. They're all incorporated as 501c3s, charitable religious organizations. So tell me, what type of lawful constitutional authority does your state have to force all of you to pay charitable donations to your school districts, charitable donations for your police departments? Because that is what they're registered as in their certificates of incorporation. Okay? Don't you all pay a plethora of different taxes to what you think is fund your school districts and fund your police departments? But they're charitable organizations. So what jurisdiction does a charitable organization have to tax the public in order to fund their existence? They don't. Now the state can use its power of taxation to tax you and then pour that donation into the coffers of those charitable organizations, which is what the state is doing. However, we all know how corrupt corporate charities are, don't we? Isn't there a lot of skimming and grifting of the profit and misallocation of funds? I think the IRS needs to investigate, don't you? And like I said before, the IRS is its own independent entity. It's not under federal jurisdiction. It's under the IMF. They'll investigate anybody if it's brought to their knowledge. But even more so, my county's bar association is incorporated as a charitable, this is too funny, as a charitable / religious organization. Okay? That means every time that you go into your courts, your county courts, you're standing in front of a magistrate, a judge, a prosecutor that are all part of the same religious charitable organization. How can you? First of all, it's unconstitutional. First of all, they're wearing two hats, presenting themselves as governing bodies when they're both involved with the same charitable / religious organization. But if you folks correct your status and operate as a 508c1a, right, a private church, you cannot possibly participate in a religious ceremony of a different religious entity, right? And the Constitution guarantees you more religious freedoms than constitutionally guaranteed rights, right? The government has no power to dictate any form of religious belief as long as your belief is not causing harm to another person or their property. The government has no power to dictate your religious belief. Okay? And Public Law 97-280, Congress declared the Bible the Word of God. Jesus said you can't have a knee on two thrones. The first commandment in the law of God is worship no other gods before me. The biblical concept of worship is allegiance, compliance. Okay? Obedience. If a religious entity has counterintuitive beliefs to your religious beliefs, you cannot participate in such things. It's backed by your God, your book, whom they proclaimed. Your God's book is the Word of God. They proclaim that in their own law. Okay? And they also, in their own constitution, their own foundation of their own body of law, proclaim that they have no power to infringe upon any form of religious belief. The third principle within the rule of law is that the rules of man cannot infringe upon the principles of the divine. So what I'm saying is, I think a lot of us are kind of coming at fighting back in the wrong way. go for the head of the snake. Once you reveal that these are corporations and religious charitable organizations, that mask, that veil of being a governing body is torn off, right? And they can't hide anymore concerning the fraud that they're perpetrating upon you. And God has given us the jurisdiction and the power through his own word to stand with us and wield it as a sword in our own defense, right? The next time you have to go into court for some meager statute violation, bring the articles of incorporation. Your Honor, are you a member of this county's bar association? Yes. Prosecutor, are you a member of this county's bar association? Yes. And they're going to proudly declare that, of course. Well, that's concerning because I have the articles of incorporation as a 501c3. This is a charitable religious entity that you both are part of. And Your Honor, you're wearing a black robe, a robe of Saturnalia, sitting on a false appointed throne with a false seal of fallen God sitting behind you. There's pews that people are sitting in. I cannot possibly participate in this religious ceremony as it goes against my own religious beliefs, guaranteed to be protected under the Constitution that you, Your Honor, took an oath to. Right? You took an oath to it. Congress declared my book the Word of God. And the first commandment of my God is I cannot worship any other gods before him. And you are all, by your own declaration of your own ceremonies and your own symbolism, worshiping and participating in a ceremony of fallen gods that I cannot possibly participate in. Otherwise, it will bring legal consequences, spiritual consequences, and physical consequences for all of us, right? Because you're not operating as a governing body. Your articles of incorporation clearly declare that you're operating as a religious charitable organization, a corporate organization, not a governing body. So there is no constitutional or lawful jurisdiction that you can possibly have, which means the only other conclusion is that you're perpetuating fraud and taxing people. They're taxing people. All of you think your taxes pay for things. Well, you're in a fiat banking system, right? You're in a fiat banking system. You can't pay for anything. And I don't know. That's where my mind is at today, guys. But if we all start to dig, and notify the IRS. There's this corporate entity posing as a charitable religious organization, receiving funds, right? Which means all of the constituents that think they're taxpayers are on the books as employees / investors. That needs to be investigated. Hi there, guys.